the DAFs have started to appear up here. The snowdrops have been out down Gow Lane, further down that way. But the DAFs certainly are out in Shrewsbury. Very nice ones as well by Oats and Chads in bloom. And that was a fortnight ago. And here they're very reluctant because of all this. Europeans have had their backsides tanned, courtesy of JD Vance at the Munich Security Conference. He told them that there's going to be a new settlement as far as security, as far as NATO are concerned, because there's a new sheriff in town, and the guy who writes most of the checks for NATO. And part of that is that they have to abide by things like freedom of speech, or rather he's attacking them for the lack of it, and of course it went down like a ton of bricks. Which tells you everything you need to know about the European leaders, the authoritarian Marxists, because he can't dare challenge the woke orthodoxy. And this has now been picked up at Bondi, on the US Attorney General on appeared on the news and said that people in the UK shouldn't be jailed for things that say Facebook and X. Thinking here of Bernie Spotforth. She's now started a podcast called "If This Is True," which is what she was arrested over in the first place in August last year. Then eventually released without any charge. But of course, the process is the punishment to discourage her from making the same mistake of asking questions and pondering. She didn't make any specific claims, just a thought exercise, as I've covered before. So thought exercise, or if that is true, then this will happen. If that is true, then this means this. And if that is true, then it means these other implications. That's an arrestable offence. You can't ask questions, you can't challenge the orthodoxy. So, the US, as you know, has the First Amendment, which protects freedom of speech, but of course that doesn't mean that people can shout fire in a crowded theatre when there is no fire, thus causing stampede where people don't need to leave. And also it doesn't protect people sending death threats or saying, oh, I'm going to set fire to this synagogue, I'm going to set fire to this mosque, or I'm going to go and assassinate these LGBT people, whatever else. Doesn't cover that. The freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, yes, as long as it doesn't a direct threat of violence. We don't have that here. And also their First Amendment is backed by the Second Amendment, the right to hold the pew pews, the bang bang things, the long distance hole punches, because it's that which protects the first from being removed. So, we haven't got that. So the world in the US, sorry, the people in the US, they're now waking up to not only what Elon Musk has been tweeting from Rupert Lowe, among other people, about the Pakistani grape gangs. Oh, by the way, that's still going on. Even though that came out 2 months ago, or back in the public interest, into public knowledge, I should say. It's been going on since the early 70s. So over 50 years. It's still going on now. It won't ever stop until one or two things. Containment of that population, complete segregation or deportation. Because no matter how many times you throw them to jail, they're not treated as it's not treated as a shameful thing in their community. Because it just gets welcomed back in. Carry on where they left off. Whereas anyone else is a child rapist, is shunned in society, but not in that particular community. That's the problem. So it's here to stay, essentially. It's here to stay. And anyway, so Elon Musk has been talking about that, hasn't he, on Twitter, on X. So the US is now starting to has woken up about that, and the fact there's been the cover-up since decades. Oh, Oldham has now rejected another inquiry. So that's not going anywhere. So the US knows that it's been going on for a very long time, and by whom, and that the authorities knew, and they covered it up. They're still covering it up, and these people are still in position. So people in America know all this. And now it's coming to their attention more and more increasingly that the rest of the things that we can't talk about without getting arrested, or having somebody come around and tell us, you really shouldn't be talking about that, should you? Because that's the thing. Even if you don't get arrested, police will still turn up, 2 or 3 of them, and say that we didn't like what you've been saying. There's been a complaint made that you've been saying these things about these people. They don't like it. See, but for your own sake, don't. Same thing happens in Germany. With their police is more strict. If you express support for a certain political party, or if you talk about certain things, they'll just turn up, drag you off, throw you in the clink. Exactly what they used to do in East Germany before the Berlin Wall fell. Only they haven't got the presence of mind to understand that they're doing what the East Germans did, what the Stasi did, and Erich Honecker. Still going on in Germany as a whole. It's just that the Germans thought, well, you know what those East Germans did? They silenced people by turning up and just dragging them off. If you've seen anything that the state finds inconvenient, of course we won't ever do that. If the Germans thought in 1989, 1990, of course not, we would never do that, will we? That's what the nasty people do. That's what the communists do. We would never do that. We are free in the West. Then they turned out to do exactly the same thing. So when the Berlin Wall fell, people raided the Stasi files to see what the Stasi, the police held on them. I remember the photographs, and see who the informants were. They reckon there was something like, not just the Stasi who did the work of collating, but they're also dependent on a vast network of, shall we say, informers and volunteers. Something like, is it something like 1 in 3 of the population? Can't remember. Turned out to be Stasi informants, and there was a colossal amount in East Germany who were just the informants. Snowdrops. Earless. Informants with the Stasi. Could be your neighbour, might not be your neighbour. So everyone looked at each other thinking, you might well be, you might not be, but you might be. And a whole constant suspicion that somebody might be around you, might be informing on you. And the same here with our long-time hate incidents. That's one thing that I'm surprised that Vance and Bondi didn't pick up on. The long-time hate incidents where anyone can report anonymously that they feel offended on someone else's, either they were offended or they were offended on somebody else's behalf. That somebody said hurty words or said an opinion that went against the whatever woke orthodoxy, said that oh, men can't be women, or men shouldn't belong in women's changing rooms, i.e. what we'll either call the trans woman. That's grounds for a non-crime hate incident, and it only takes one person to be offended on somebody else's behalf. Bingo, you got one on your record. You don't get to find out unless you fail the an enhanced DBS check, and you never get to find out who it was who made that against you. So we have the same thing going on here. But Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, she didn't bring that up as far as I know. Vance hasn't brought that up, and I think Elon Musk might have. So the rationale in the US under Donald Trump now is, why should they fund the NATO when countries that NATO are guaranteeing the safety of can't even guarantee the safety of free speech and freedom of thought, because these are as bad as the communists NATO was fighting against. So what's the point of the US funding all these authoritarian countries that are as bad as the old communists? That's the tenor of Vance's speech. Either they stop doing all that, or the US will walk away, and that's what I'm going to see is going to happen. I think the US will just walk away after NATO, leave it to everyone else to do it instead.